Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about our sponsor, Cincy Shirts. Look, you know Cincy Shirts, you love Cincy Shirts. They've been with FC Cincinnati from the beginning, and we're just huge fans of their work here at the Post and happy to have them on as a sponsor. If you head on over to cincyshirts.com, that's Cincy with a Y, check out using the promo code ThePostCincy. That's all one word, all caps. You will get 10% off your order, and you let them know that we sent you there. They have MLS and MLSPA licensed FCC gear available online or in 2 retail locations in Hyde Park and Fort Mitchell. And the cool thing about the in-store locations, if they don't have your size on the shelf, they can print you one on the spot. Also, the promo code works in stores as long as you tell them. And that promo code is, again, ThePostCincy with a Y, all one word, all caps, or use the link down in the description of this podcast. And thank you so much to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode. And on this episode of the Postcast, well, folks, you know we got to talk about it. That FC Cincinnati Inter Miami match in the U.S. Open Cup Semifinal here in Cincinnati. It ended in a penalty shootout loss for the Orange and Blue. There is a lot to pick over in this game, and goodness do we pick over a lot in this game. The highs and the lows from this match. We basically ride that wave of emotions once again, recapping this game, what we can learn from it, what this game means for this city and for this team going forward. In part 2, we are looking ahead at the rest of the season. There is just 10 games left and silverware is just in sight for FC Cincinnati. Do the previous 3 games have any bearing on how that trophy run is going to go? And then finally, part 3, we are previewing the New York City FC game this weekend. That's right. They do not stop playing these games. It happens again. We'll let you know how that one's going to go. And that's going to be your postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more are 2 gentlemen who were not among the million plus watching on TV. They were in the stadium. I'm joined by the Chief. I'm joined by Grayson. Grayson, did you have good seats for this one? And were you surrounded by Messi fans?
I had my normal seats, so I had great seats.
Good.
And
good.
I was not surrounded by Messi fans.
Wow.
There were a few in my section, not a lot. There was a kid in front of me who was wearing a Messi Argentina jersey, but he gave me a fist bump when Yuya Kubo scored that tying goal.
Aww.
He was cheering for the FC, and you have to have a lot of leeway for like small children. And then I knew that. So he and his dad were not usual attendees in those seats, but they were with the 2 people next to them who come to every game. And so like I knew that they were okay. Yeah. From the start.
Oh, that's good. You had a better experience than I did. Chief, how were your seats? Were you in a sea of Messi fans?
I actually was. I was in a section where sort of across the aisle and 2 rows in front of me, there was an entire group of people in Messi kits, one of whom had brought a homemade World Cup trophy that he was just holding the entire game.
Why not?
He was next to a guy in a Maradona jersey, which I thought was just, sure, why not?
All right.
You're telling me you can't bring a person to the stadium, but you can bring like a replica World Cup blunt object.
You mean a bludgeon?
Right. As long as he brings it in a clear plastic bag, though, I think it's okay. Behind me was an entire row of Messi stands, one of whom when Miami went down 2-0 was assuring his friends, it's okay as long as we get an away goal on the second leg of this competition, we'll be completely fine. And
good.
then
That's good advice.
He had to be corrected in that by one of my seatmates who will remain nameless. Yeah, I hate it here, and I want to burn the stadium to the ground after experiencing that. And then the worst is just the cherry on top was that there was 3 FC fans in front of me, and it was a dad who had brought 2 small children to the game. I would say boys between the age of like 11 or 12. Yeah. And the dad was intently into the game. He was so intently into the game, he had just abandoned any thought of parenting and was just laser focused on the field. And at some point, the 2 kids that he was with just started beating the shit out of one another. Like wailing on one another just to get a reaction from each other. Yeah. And you could hear them hitting each other. Like the blows there was some venom behind these hits with one another. And they were winding up and swinging on each other and just beating the shit out of each other in this section. And this is while we're in extra time. Yeah. Pushing for a tying goal until finally I turned into that guy and I was like, hey, do you mind knocking it the fuck off? I'm trying to watch this game. Right. And you two are throwing haymakers at one another, and it's kind of distracting.
Jesus. Yeah, it's almost jerk line worthy, right? Like you almost wish there was something just to hope for it. I had a pretty great experience up in the nosebleeds in 220. Completely surrounded by Messi fans and a very pregnant FC fan. And to be clear, we were in literally the last row. So just props to her for making it all the way up there. But the guy sitting next to me is wearing a green specialty Liverpool kit, which had to have cost, I don't know, $150 or more if it was authentic, which it did look like it. And he had a City Connect Reds hat on and was clearly cheering for Messi, but said, I wouldn't mind seeing FC get a goal in this game, too.
That's awfully nice of him.
Yeah, it was very, very nice. And then it just kept going on, and me and my seatmate, Prent, we're there booing Messi's every touch. We're talking shit when we go up a couple of goals. And this guy's just like, you can't offend the soccer god on the field like this. God. I'm like, hey, man, what is your deal? You're clearly from Cincinnati. He's like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I had to channel my inner Grayson article. I was like, it's not. Man, he signed a 2.5-year deal. He's played here before. He's playing with Argentina in the summer next year. You have plenty of opportunities, and he's been a professional for 20 years. Yeah, where have you been?
He'll be back next year. They're in Eastern. He may be back for the playoffs.
Yeah, right. But he's definitely going to be back next year.
Yeah.
That guy reminded me of. So I feel like I've said my piece on the worship of Messi.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of a classic exchange on Twitter from last year. Elon Musk tweeted, "Haven't even had sex in ages, sigh." And some guy responded, "Bullshit, bro. I'm happily married with an amazing wife. Even she understands if I helped you out. She would even be proud of me, even if I myself would feel like shit. LOL, that's like hell for me, but I would do it. LOL." And then a guy says, "You offering to, have sex with Elon Musk to help him out?" And he says, "Yes, I am. Is that a problem? LOL, like this is profoundly weird? Or are you all just a little too uptight, maybe?" And then the guy closes by saying, "Yes, I'm willing to do shitty things for a cause. This is the nature of sacrifice. LOL. LOL, I feel like I'm crazy often because people are weird."
Wow.
I just want you, if anybody's listening, and like thinks that felt like wearing a Messi jersey to this game, or that like you have to respect Messi or whatever. That's what you sound like to me.
Right. No, I did say at one point there were some people that were just wilding out for Messi in my section. And I get it. There were little kids in front of me, and this probably wasn't my best choice. But I just yelled down though. It's like, he's not going to fuck you, man. Like, he doesn't know you exist. I understand you have shown up and you have made your entire personality tonight about coming to worship at the altar of a man who does not know you exist, doesn't speak the language you speak. You don't need to do this, man. He has more money than God. He's accomplished more than you ever will in your lifetime. He doesn't need you here in this moment defending and cheering his every move. It's weird. It is weird. I will never stop finding it profoundly weird that people are fans of an athlete on a team sport. That like, I don't care about his team. I care about him individually.
Not only does he not know that you live, he wouldn't like you if he met you. He would find nothing about you relatable or interesting. And in fact, the fact that you invest so much of yourself in this individual tells me that like I wouldn't find you relatable or interesting.
Right.
You know what he would care most about is the fact that your kit's bootleg and he didn't make any money off that. That's probably the most important thing he would find out about you. All right, so before we move on from
whereas
this,
I idolize Evan Loro.
Yeah,
and he's come on my podcast twice.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't know who we are.
I got to interview Mitch Hildebrand. Fuck you. Can I call live before everyone here an emergency meeting of the podcast, of the postcast?
Yes, please.
Are we okay if I make a motion that at the conclusion of this episode that we are going to put a moratorium on the word Messi and discussions of Lionel Messi for, I'm going to say, 30 days.
I'll go as far as to say 30 days or until we play them, whichever one is longer.
So here's what I propose. I propose a 30-day moratorium. What day is it? August
24th. As we record this.
As we record this, and we play them in October, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I'll look the date up while you continue.
Yeah, that was the only thing I couldn't remember.
Here's what I think makes sense. Moratorium on Miami and Messi for 30 days, period.
Okay.
At the expiration of 30 days, we could talk about Miami to the extent that it is relevant for table and playoff race discussion.
I like this a lot.
Okay? Because we may have to talk about them going into late September, talking about the stretch run into the playoffs and what the picture is developing into being.
Yeah.
We do not talk about Messi until the preview episode for the Inter Miami game.
Okay, so we're playing that match October 7th.
Is that a Saturday?
I assume so.
So that means October 5th, I think, we'll be allowed to talk about Messi. I am game.
It's 44 days until then. So 30 days of Messi moratorium will give us a 2-week window until that match. I think that is more than enough time to discuss anything we need to discuss about that Inter Miami match, about where Miami is in the table. But I'm done. I would even go so far as to propose that there be some kind of punishment for anyone on this podcast going forward that slips up and mentions his name again.
Oh, yeah. We will be taking suggestions.
Yeah,
on
that's
this.
It.
Okay.
Drop them in the Discord.
Drop them in the Discord. Put them in the Twitter replies. If you find us on any other social media,
good luck.
Like if you want to put it in a Blue Sky reply.
Yes, we'll probably see it.
Well, I'll probably see it.
I'm okay if it's like a one-time thing, like every time someone mentions his name that there's a consequence. I'm also okay with doing a running track and there being like a general punishment at the end of the 30 days for anyone that slips up the most, missing him. It was like what we were talking about when we were up in Columbus last weekend, that, you know, Kevin just mentioned you were in a fantasy football draft.
Yeah.
I want to get involved in a fantasy football league where the buy-in isn't a prize. That so everybody buys in $100, and then at the end of the season, the winner gets his money back, and the rest of the money is used to make some sort of a punishment for the loser. So 12-team league, the winner gets 100. The loser, $1,100 is spent making them do something. Like, we're renting you a car and paying for your gas, but you have to drive to Los Angeles and back as part of the punishment. Or you have to show up at CVG and we have purchased a plane ticket, bring a duffel bag, you don't know where you're going. And what it turns out that you're doing is you are just flying from airport to airport with like 8-hour layovers. It's never enough time to leave the airport, but you're just bouncing around for places for an entire weekend. I'm okay with that at the end of this too, that whoever has mentioned this dickhead's name too often over the course of the next couple of weeks, that there's something horrendous that they must do in order to appease our listeners, the kind and loving God who should never have allowed last night to happen, whomstever.
So I think that we should be pretty strict on this.
I'm in favor.
No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
No, I'm done.
I'm not sure I want like a running tally. I want the stakes to be there.
Yeah.
If you slip up.
Yeah. I like this.
All right. This is not a bit. I don't want to talk about him. I'm done. I'm so done.
So we can do, so what I propose is we can spend the next few days gathering suggestions and assessing them. And we'll announce maybe on the next episode what we're going with.
I like this. Yep.
But we'll have to just say, if you slip up announcing the challenge, I guess that's all right. But just say, like, we have a challenge we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah, that's
the
real challenge is explaining the challenge.
Here is the punishment for anybody who slips up.
Yeah. All right, I'm into it. So get it out of your system tonight. Like, this is it. This is our last chance. I'm done.
Yeah.
I think for the mental health of the dozen listeners, I think it'll be good to move on after this. Have your catharsis and move on.
So we were like a, quasi Leagues Cup podcast for a minute there.
Yeah.
Going forward, our pledge to you, the listeners, is we're going to go back to our roots as an FC Cincinnati podcast that barely talks about soccer as is, but when soccer is discussed, it is centered around FC Cincinnati and the experience of being a fan of FC Cincinnati. The true voice of the fan, as it were. The only true voice of the fan. And we're going to return to our roots. And even after this challenge is over, I think I feel pretty comfortable saying that if we talk about these folks going forward, it is going to be in the sense that it relates to FC Cincinnati's, playoff games, regular season games, position on the table. We are going to remain the center of the soccer universe.
Yes. In Cincinnati.
Unless someone wants to offer us a lot of sponsorship dollars to break this, I can be bought.
If you want this same venom brought in defense of your golden boy,
pay up.
There is a number.
DMs are open.
I absolutely love this. I'll go a step further and say that I think every outlet should not do a total blackout. Don't get me wrong. That would be crazy for national media to try to do that. But I think it is important for MLS to look like a big boy league by just pretending like Messi being here is a normal thing that you should expect to happen of a league of high esteem and reputation. So yeah, I am in total favor of this. Now, having said that, I did think of this while we were discussing the fans of Messi. And I do think that there should be some sort of like intersectionality chart for Messi fandom where it's like, if you're Argentinian, like you get a pass. If your family's Argentinian, you know, that's fine. But if you're like, you know, got like German roots.
Chad from Delhi. Like if you're Chad from Delhi, stop.
You got into the Premier League 4 years ago and you're this obsessed with Messi. I don't know you get to count anymore.
Yeah, if you're from Argentina, your parents are from Argentina.
Yeah.
I get that.
Folk
That's
hero.
like
Absolutely.
that is an independent personal connection. We are talking about people with no damn good reason to act this way.
Right. Oh, gosh. So, yeah, the circus.
I was going to come up with some analogies there, but I cannot. None of the analogies that I came up with were non-problematic.
I was going to say, don't get canceled.
tread lightly here. The league should stop this shit. It's getting embarrassing. It's not only getting embarrassing. I don't know. I have so many thoughts after last night.
Yeah.
So many. And it's hard to put into words how profoundly sad I was walking out of the game last night, unhappy with the idea that the decision by MLS to bring Lionel Messi to this league, and to do that, they leveraged money from the largest corporation on the planet by market capitalization.
Mm-hmm.
They leveraged money from one of the largest manufacturers of sporting goods on the planet, who is their kit sponsor. They gave up 1% of their television revenue, 1% of their kit sales. They bent over backwards, moved heaven and earth to pay this person whatever it took to get him to his preferred destination, got his friends to sign. And they did all that, put their finger on the scale to build a super team in the year that we were good, that we are good, that this is a good team. And this is a moment stolen from us as FC Cincinnati fans. Just like, and I hate that I have to defend them on this, it was a moment stolen from Nashville in the Leagues Cup. That's a Nashville team that goes on an incredible run in Leagues Cup, and their moment is stolen because the team they come up against is Garber's Globetrotters, is a team that is purpose-built to be a super team.
Yeah.
And you talk about like the league needs to, change what it's doing. They're at the risk, legitimately, I think, of alienating the fans they already have. Where you are a fan of some team and you look at this and you're like, well, what's the goddamn point? Like they just went and they gave everything to one city, to one team, and they sacrificed all the rest of the league on the altar of chasing 11 million views on Twitter for a video or 1.2 million viewers on Telemundo for an Open Cup game. And everything else is secondary to that. And the part that really kind of drove it home for me was apparently last night after the game, Carl Linder comes down to the media room and talks to the media about how proud he is of the team and how proud he is of the coach and how proud I am of the fans and what an effort the lads gave last night. Carl Linder voted to bring Lionel Messi to Inter Miami. He gave his okay to that deal. He was one of the owners that voted for this. I guarantee you that the owners and the governors of MLS had to sign off on this deal. Carl Linder signed off on the deal that undermined his team, that undermined his city, and that cost them a chance at their first trophy. And that's just like, the fuck's the point of all this? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So I want to table that thought for a second because I did come up with my analogy.
Oh, okay, good.
The non-connective Messi fans are like mother's younger brother from ragtime. They have no identity of their own, except in the extent that in how it relates to others. And what ultimately happens to Mother's younger brother, of course, is he dies,
Of course.
fighting for a cause that really isn't his. The difference between the Messi stands and Mother's younger brother is he found a somewhat noble cause to give his life to. They are simping for a billionaire.
Same thing. What is the difference? Yeah, Chief, I completely agree with you. And I understand that like the focus goes to Messi, but it probably can't be said enough. But then again, we are going to ban talking about it. So it is possible to say this too much. But like, just a reminder, it's not just Messi, it's Busquets, it's Alba, but it's also Gomez, Farias, Aviles, whatever his name is, Tomas, from Racing Club. Like, they turned over their roster in what we can only be described as quasi-legal ways to bring in essentially 6 starters. Those U22 players mentioned in there, basically the non-Barcelona names you didn't recognize, incredibly highly regarded South American players, and the 2 of them being Argentinian, turned down moves to Europe to go play with Messi. It makes you wonder, did they take a haircut to do that? Which is, again, something that wouldn't have been available if Messi wasn't there. Or are they getting paid more than they're supposed to and the league is looking the other way? Like, there is so much that goes into this that, yes, Miami went from the worst team in the league. And I know the story you'll see from folks on Twitter is, oh, it's Messi, or charitably, it's 3 old guys they stuck on the worst team in the league. So, well, no. They also brought in Tata Martino, who was one of, if not the most successful MLS coaches in his very short run at Atlanta United. Like, they literally built a super team overnight. All of this happens, by the way, between July 15th and August 1st. All of those transfers, and Martino showed up maybe a week before all of that. Just like the snap of the fingers, and it turns into something radically different. And yeah, like, as FCC fans, super annoying, because what looked like a straight shot at the quadruple, sure, we might lose in a final, maybe, suddenly turned into, a situation that probably wasn't going to pan out. And we saw that in the Leagues Cup, and we saw that in the Open Cup. Granted, the team didn't technically losing in penalties and knockout rounds. There's something to be said for that, but
there isn't. It's a loss.
It's
the other team celebrated on your field. You can call it whatever the hell you want. It's a loss.
Devastating. So, no, I think it is right to be upset about that. It's right to be frustrated by that. And yeah, it leads to the circus that we saw last night, which was a huge game for FCC and all of this other stuff. So,
I don't
brutal.
know. It's just
brutal.
It's a lot to process right now. That the circus came, like, if all these moves happen 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I know the transfer window is what it is, but it was perfectly coincided just to fuck us.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
just that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what Lindner's role was in, like, say, voting to approve the Messi deal. I don't think he was against it by any means, but like, right. I don't know exactly what the process of approving that deal looked like. If it was something that Garber could do,
there's no
himself,
way. There's no way,
or that the league competition committee, which the members of that aren't public, although I do remember hearing. No, Lindner might be on the board of governors. For MLS, right? But I'd have to look that back up, because I know that I've read in the past about our ownership being fairly active in the league committees.
Yeah.
But, that said, I don't think it was inappropriate for Carl to come down and say, I support this team in spite of the result. They didn't do anything to make me disappointed as an owner, and they should keep their heads up. And let's go and win some trophies.
I'm sick of this shit.
So what should they do? Just sit in their room and cry?
No, be mad.
I really hope that you've never. So look,
I'm so sick of this happy to be here horse shit. I'm so sick of the lads fought hard and they should hold their head high. They lost. We are so far beyond being proud to be here and happy to be here. They are allegedly a top of the table team. The expectation should be winning. Like this patronizing bullshit about, wow, the fans in Cincinnati, they really showed themselves.
I don't give a shit about that. I don't give a shit about what other people say about us as fans.
Oh, if this team plays this hard the rest of the year, what? They'll lose every game in a penalty shootout if they play exactly like this? No. Like at some point, the standard has to be winning. It has to be winning.
Okay, well, first of all, every time we lose, you go into this massive fit. And
I was
Manchester
okay with
City
it.
Loses games.
I was okay with it till it was they hold their heads high.
You okay with it. After the St. Louis game, you're like good teams don't lose games like this.
They don't. That's accurate, but
no, they do. Every team does.
We are a good team, and we did lose a game like that.
Yeah, I mean,
are we a good team? Are we?
We are a very good team.
We're eight points ahead of everybody else in the league.
As bad as FCC may be now, just imagine everybody else, with the possible exception of Miami, is worse.
No,
Shut up for a second. Okay. It's like crazy to me that anybody who works in a field where like you're in kind of an adversarial competitive setting and victory is not certain in any given case or instance understands that like there's only so much you can do and that sometimes things won't go your way. And about the least productive thing that you can do. I mean, I'm sure it makes you feel good. I'm sure it's performative and fulfills some type of like emotional need that you may have.
Oh, man.
But the least productive thing that you can do is stomp around your office screaming at people saying like, I want everyone to be mad. Let's all get mad.
You don't have
we're supposed to win.
Supposed to win.
Nothing is acceptable except for victory.
That's absolutely true.
And total victory. And we should just stop trying. And we should just give up.
I didn't say stop trying.
But that is the message you send. The only acceptable thing to do after a setback is to look at, okay, yes, there's a little bit of what could we have done differently? What didn't we do?
Sure.
But what you're actually supposed to do is say, what's next?
That's fine.
What are we going to do next? I don't want anybody. I don't want Carl Lindner hiding his face, ashamed to see people. I don't want him coming down and saying like, I don't care what they did. They only needed to win.
You didn't need to say anything. You don't need to say you're proud of losers. You don't need to say that.
They're not losers just because
literally lost the
game. No.
Technically, they didn't. They were knocked
Losing
out.
is an action. Loser is like an identity. Losers are the people that show up to the game in the Messi Miami jerseys with no connection to Messi or Miami. They didn't become winners.
Yeah.
Because Messi won a penalty kick shootout.
No, the alternative is an ownership group that doesn't care, that doesn't show up to the game at all because they kind of forgot that they owned an MLS side, or that they go down and say, yes, we have achieved our objectives. This is exactly as far as I thought this team could go, and this was a success. We didn't get any of that. We got an ownership group that said this was a tough loss. I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm proud of the effort that was on display.
Why? It was an effort that lost. Why are you proud of losing? I don't understand that. I never will.
It's not being proud of losing. Look, you can break a personal best in a 100-meter sprint and still lose the race. It doesn't mean your effort was poor. You did the best you literally ever have done. That's
like, you're
good.
supposed to give your best effort. You're bragging about something you're supposed to do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. A lot of these teams don't, and we've seen it under Jaap Stam. That is an actual viable option in this case. We have heard from Alan Koch that he was trying to lose the Chicago Fire Open game. We've heard from the players that was the case.
It's not just that they played hard. They did play well. They went toe to toe with Messi. You know,
Lionel freaking Messi.
They had probably better opportunities to win this game than Miami did. And if you go by FOTMob, we were 0 of 5 on big chances.
Brutal.
Miami was 2 for 2.
This is cope.
No, it's not cope. It's you're the problem is that we have a sample size of 1.
Yeah.
Right? And a sample size of 1 doesn't tell you all that much about the state of, your team.
Yeah. For the majority of that game, you would have rather have been the FC Cincinnati team. The vast majority of that game, you would have rather been us.
Yeah, at the end, you would not have rather been us.
Sure.
But them's the breaks a little bit. And, beat New York this weekend.
Beat New York.
Yeah.
And with that, fuck Columbus.
You don't get to end
it. And Grayson signed off, folks. I don't know what to tell you. No, I mean, look, I think it is very fair to be emotional after that loss. It was devastating. It was a roller coaster of we are winning that game in regulation, in the 90 minutes of regulation. We are winning that game for 99.9% of that time until we were tied. And then everything goes haywire from there. But I mean, look, you want to talk about Lionel freaking Messi and one man coming to this. He was virtually a non-factor. He had a couple of good placements, and yes, he had good placement on a free kick. Sure, it would be weird if he didn't, honestly. It would have been a little stranger if he just drilled it into the wall. But in terms of run of play, he was as useless as Zlatan was against Nick Haglund in 2019. He was as useless as Hani Mukhtar was just a couple of weeks ago in TQL Stadium. This team has the ability to eliminate the other team's star player. Jordi Alba looked frustrated and flustered that he had to play a real team for the first time since coming to the United States.
He could not handle Santi Arias.
No. He's like, holy shit, this is a guy like at my level. What is this? That was lovely to see. And Busquets was just getting nicked in the ankle left and right by Moreno and Wobodo. And even Brandon Vasquez mowing this guy over. It was a sight to see. We had this team exactly right. The game plan, I'll give Noonan his credit here right before Chief starts digging a 6-foot hole for him. The game plan worked flawlessly. The chances were there. The defensive effort was there. The XG battle was won, I assume. I can't seem to find it right now. It was a beautiful sight to behold right up until it wasn't. That's the frustrating thing.
That's every game you lose. It's going great right up until the point that it's not going great. Even the Columbus game was going great for the first 5 minutes.
Maybe true, but I mean, we've seen some bad games, and yeah, the Columbus game is a perfect example of how this team can let the wheels fall off, and even going down and then losing in this game in extra time. Their confidence looked absolutely shaken. They found a way to come back, and of all people, Yuya Kubo stepped up to the moment in a way that we didn't see a lot of other players step up.
Do we want to go through?
This was the day Yuya Kubo finally became president.
Thank you, Thank you, Van Jones. Do we want to go through this game? Because there's a lot to talk about in this game individually.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's run through this. I mean, we
don't
could spend 2 hours.
We don't have to spend an hour on it, but let's run through it. I watched the highlight package and took some notes.
Oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, I've never done this before.
I love this.
But Kevin, I assume you have a recap in front of you, but
I do have I use this rundown here, but it doesn't have like big moments that were like a thing taken away, so that'll be useful.
So we start out. Yep. We've got the first team lineup out there, minus Yerson Mosquera. So, everybody knew we were going to go for it. There was no thought of having a cup rotation on this. Alec Kahn in goal, which will become very, very relevant.
Yes.
Later on in the recap, but they start out, and I thought what was interesting about this is that tactically they start out and they are playing FC Cincinnati ball, which was all anybody asked was don't be Philly, do not try to do something different. And FC Cincinnati ball is we are not looking to possess, we are not looking to dictate tempo, we are looking to wait for you to make mistakes, and we are looking to press on the counter. We're going to press you when you're in your third selectively, when we think we can make something out of it. But we're okay conceding possession around the midfield and even approaching the final third because we know that we have ball winners in the midfield and we have ball winners on the back line. And it worked.
Yeah.
It was an effective strategy. You could see a concerted effort to disrupt passing lanes to Lionel Messi specifically, that the midfield was looking to disrupt getting the ball to Messi, and that whenever he got the ball, the defense collapsed in on him. It's very familiar to the strategy that we see being employed against Lucho Acosta a lot against us, is that when he got the ball, there was an immediate collapse, and it's, you are not going to beat us. One of these other guys is going to beat us. We're not going to give time and space on the ball. And I loved it. I was so happy that they were sticking true to who they are as a team and as a play style.
I thought that the press overall was good. It was a little different than I think that we've, at least to my eyes, it was a little different than we've seen in a lot of games where in other games they might have pressured the goalie and the defenders pretty deep.
Yeah.
It felt like a lot of times they were sitting back until like Christoph or Miller would get the ball to like a particular point past the midpoint of Miami's defensive half, and then they would go off.
Yeah.
Right. And it seemed like it was designed the press was designed not particularly to win the ball in those spaces, but to disrupt passing lanes from the center backs into the midfield, which I thought was genius, because the defensive shape that FC Cincinnati employed was incredibly compact for most of this game. That you could see, at least sitting on the end lines, the end lines where I were, the space between the forwards pressing and the back line.
Yeah,
it shrunk the field of play down to an incredibly narrow band of the pitch. And as long as you maintain your line, and as long as you bunch the passing lanes up, there's not a lot of risk in playing that way as long as you're disciplined. And it really made it difficult for Miami to move and advance the ball, which, phenomenal.
Yeah. No, it was incredible to see. And yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. The high line from the defense was, ballsy given, what Miami is capable of doing. And yet in conjunction with the press and Moreno and Wobodo in the midfield, just clogging things up, it worked really, really well. And it was really funny watching, especially the Miami defenders. Their move is to receive the ball, look for Messi. Okay, Messi isn't open. Pass the ball to the next guy. The next guy gets the ball. All right, where's Messi? No, he's not open still. All right, pass the ball. And it was just, that was their whole game plan. And as long as you had somebody in the way, they didn't know what to do with the ball. They would do these like half-hearted attempts to cross to a winger or something, or to release a winger down the side. It was just not working. And
nobody got beat deep. Like Haglund, Miazga, particular, had great backtracking runs. And you get nervous whenever Nick Hagglund turns around and starts running towards his own goal. But damn it if he didn't keep up with every single one of those plays where they tried to pick them over the top or pick the through ball to try and get behind the defense in that first half and most of that second half.
Yeah, I remember like early in the game, and this was kind of emblematic of how it would go throughout. Yedlin made a run down the sideline, and Murphy tracked him the whole way. The long ball came through. It was too long, but like even if it had been a perfect pass, Murphy was there.
Yeah.
Like there was not a free run for Yedlin there, and he didn't really get much down the side, which was something that they tried quite a bit. And I thought Murphy was quite good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I wonder, not to take anything away from Ian, but Kevin talked about how good the high line was. The way that the defenders would spring a second guy on Messi. A lot of times that was Murphy.
Yep.
I wonder how important. I wonder how much of an influence Matt Miazga was on how organized the defensive unit played together.
Yeah.
It's hard not to compare this to how they looked over the weekend against Columbus, where Miazga wasn't there.
Right.
He's a stabilizing force. And I thought this was, I'm glad you touched on that. I thought this was Ian Murphy's best game as an FC Cincinnati defender.
I feel like we've said that a lot, but like, I don't disagree.
Like clean. No, but like he went through that stretch where he was having card problems and he was having discipline problems. And this was an incredibly clean game from him. I don't recall him putting many feet the wrong way against a very dynamic Miami attack. I mean, really, really well done, I thought.
And I looked at the chart, but I also felt like he got a lot of, he got his foot on the ball a lot in our attacking half as well. Like he was getting up in the attack and making himself available and finding, Alvaro or other guys and like being active in that respect as well.
Yeah, there's a moment in the first half, I don't remember exactly when it was, he attempted a give and go with Lucho streaking into the box. It's like, whoa, all right, young man.
Calm down.
You can do too much. Well, speaking of, it wasn't too long into this game, the 18th minute, unless...
Wait.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the penalty?
People probably will want us to give the final word on the Bupenza penalty shout.
Do you think it was a penalty, Grayson?
So I don't think this is one that we should be particularly aggrieved about.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't think it was in the moment.
In the moment, my reaction was, and I've tried to find a good view of it on the replay. They didn't really spend a lot of time looking at it on the TV broadcast. So I found it kind of hard to see anything differently from what I saw live. But it is something that I have seen given. What it looked to me like was Bupenza just got his foot in between the ball and the defender, who I think was Yedlin, when the defender was just about to clear the ball out.
Yeah, his foot was cocked, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah, and then instead of kicking the ball, he kicked Bupenza's foot, which wasn't there when he started the kick. And he had no real reason, I think, to expect Bupenza to suddenly show up. And
however,
it's one that I have seen given
against FCC, I feel
against FC Cincinnati and elsewhere.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the video, but I do feel like it's very similar to one that Weston McKennie got called when he was playing for Juve. I guess he still is playing for Juve, but I think it was in his first season with Juve. But anyway, it's one I've seen called, but it's one that it's always kind of bothered me when it's given because it feels kind of cheap because the defender's not, or the attacker rather. And I'm not saying Bupenza did anything wrong, right? He's getting in there.
Yeah.
But what the attacker's doing is not necessarily really playing the ball it's getting in the way of the defender playing the ball.
Yeah. You're not being fouled in the act of playing offense.
Right.
Yeah. I think the huge distinction for me, and the reason why, I've seen worse penalties given, but Yedlin had better position, and Yedlin beat Bopenza to the ball. And I feel like that's always the delineating factor, is that when it's a 50-50 simultaneous arrival at the ball, it's going to be called a penalty more often. When the offensive player has position, it's going to be called a penalty. When the defender gets to the ball and the offensive player initiates sort of what causes the foul by sticking his foot in there, I think then it gets a little harsh, and I have a hard time saying I disagree with the call. If they'd have given the penalty, I'd have been happy about it, obviously.
I'd have taken it, yeah.
I'd have taken it. But if that were called against us, I would have howled if that call gets made on the other end and you swap jerseys.
Yeah.
It spiritually reminds me of the one that was taken away on VAR when we played Nashville.
Yeah.
Where it's not the same play, obviously, but, Mosquera has position. He's getting ready to play the ball. And then Zimmerman comes out of nowhere and just kind of causes himself to be knocked down by Mosquera's totally clean, innocuous ball playing action. Yeah. And they took that one away, I think rightfully so. So, I wanted it at the time.
Yeah.
I think had we gotten it, we could it was defensible.
Yeah.
But
I would have enjoyed it.
But it's not. I'm not going to add this to one of the games where a referee decision clearly, a specific referee decision clearly took points from us.
Yeah.
Right.
Was there VAR in this game?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there was. You wouldn't know it by how quickly everything got checked, but
yeah. In the stadium, I was questioning myself as to whether or not it was even available, because it felt like nothing even took a moment to be reviewed. Well, then we move on to Lucho Acosta scoring in the 18th minute with he gets credited with an assist, Aaron Bopenza.
Oh, Bopenza got an assist, yeah.
Because it bounces off of his face. I have not seen a replay since then, but this will be burned into my memory. The ball bounces off of Bopenza's face. It lands in front of Lucho, who dribbles through the entire Miami defense in the box before putting it away. And I start to believe in this team and in this game.
I think we can erase this from the podcast if we want.
Okay.
We don't do that on this podcast.
I think it should have gone in as an own goal.
Yeah, I changed my mind. Erase that from the podcast.
Because I just watched it, and it looks actually like Acosta is playing the ball centrally, and it glances off the defender into the side of the goal.
I don't know if there is a solid rule. Like, I feel like I've been told, and my understanding was always like, if the ball was going to go in, if the defender wasn't there and it bounces off a defender, that's fine. It still counts as a goal.
That's how I've always thought of it, but
I don't know if that's the rule.
I don't think that was, I'm not convinced that was going to happen here.
In this case,
but I would.
No, I'm watching it right now. No, that's all. That's all Lucho. No.
All right, let's do it. It's all Lucho.
Yeah.
I've always said it's all Lucho.
He kisses the badge afterwards. No,
that's true. If you kiss the badge, it can't be an own goal.
No.
I thought it, and I wrote down that this is like that. What happened here was, it was like Barriel to Moreno to Lucho to Bopenza's face, kind of in the air in the box, landing in front of Lucho, and then he gets the goal. It was like a little more it was kind of the kind of complicated play that we complain about them doing, but it just like kind of happened to. But also like, but also it was quick, and Lucho just keeps running, right?
Yeah.
Lucho just keeps running into the box, and it plays into the box where he's running to.
This
All right,
goal
I found another angle here. Grayson, it's Lucho's goal. It's Lucho's goal. Delete this from the internet. Delete this from the internet. Delete this.
I'm convinced. Thank you for convincing me and talking me off that ledge.
That absurd point you were making.
Once the evidence leads you to a position that you like, you need to stop getting more evidence. That's rule number one in all of this.
Rule number one is that no matter what your take is, you never be swayed by an argument from somebody else, because then that just encourages other people to try and make arguments in the future.
Right. This goal is like entirely.
Oh, that was just. I was joking.
Yeah.
That was just an example of what not to do.
Yeah, it's parody. That's parody.
The Post's patented satire. Which we were recently accused of not having. Oh, what was it? Not having the guts to do true satire. I forget what the exact Reddit comment was. It was great.
Who said that?
Someone on Reddit. Don't worry about it.
Some jerk off. Nobody cares. Some nobody.
No, this goal is entirely Lucho's like determination to win this game, and that's why I love this goal. It is so difficult. You see, Lucho is like. We've seen this run 100 times from Lucho, and Chief, you've made this comment before. Like at a certain point, you run out of talent. Yeah, Lucho was not running out of talent on this one. God, no. He was scoring a goal against Messi. Like you knew this meant a lot to him, and he absolutely pulled it off. And that was an incredible moment. And the shalalas were intense. And yeah, I think at that point, CBS might have realized. FCC has a shot in this one.
I forgot it was on CBS for a second, because when you said CBS might have realized, I was like, oh, they're picking up Dr. Cop. And now I have an idea for another show.
This is where I wish that Mike Watts was broadcasting this game, because I absolutely think we could have gotten Mike Watts to drop tune in next week for Dr. Cop, Attorney at Law. Right?
The Bengals preseason isn't over, right? There's still another opportunity.
What about this for a show? True Satire. It's about two political comedians who travel together.
Uh-huh.
But like behind the scenes, they're actually very like morose and going through like personal drama and struggles, and they unravel like a vast conspiracy involving like the state politicians running like a child trafficking ring.
That's good.
Where like the subject of their jokes they actually discover is true.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. This is kind of like there was the movie with Mel Gibson, Conspiracy Theory, where he's just a crackpot but accidentally finds that one of the things he made up is true.
Yeah, but in True Satire, it turns out every word that they've said is true, and that's the ultimate irony.
Or I don't know which direction you want to take this. That stands on its own, but like maybe one of their writers is actually like the puppet master and putting their jokes, putting the truth into the jokes.
It's that they are such gifted comedians.
Oh,
such keen observers that they've intuited everything without even realizing it.
So does True Satire take place in the same cinematic universe as Dr. Cop, Attorney at Law? Like, is there a possibility of a crossover where Dr. Cop ends up at one of the comedy shows and then has to investigate what is being alleged on stage, because these comedians are known for actually predicting reality?
No. Well, yes, in the same universe.
Of course.
No, not the same time period. I view True Satire as taking place in the 60s, which was like kind of the heyday.
I was going to say, you've just described satire. You've just described the Smothers Brothers, actually.
Yeah, it's like it's or like a Mort Saul type, like somebody who's like very silly, but also like just nailing it. And the bad guy in True Satire is the grandfather of the DA in Dr. Cop. But what happens is in True Satire, they don't get brought down, right?
Oh yeah, no.
Like they don't get brought down. Yeah. They get away with it. So the DA in Dr. Cop, his name's Bill Faust, by the way.
That's a solid name.
He's got a slogan. It's like a better deal for our state. for running for governor.
So it's like his son can be like William Faust II?
Yes.
All right.
So our guy is William Faust III.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. And so does Dr. Kopp know of the existence of this comedy duo? Like, are they famous in this world then, at that point?
Well, the comedy duo, no, is not. They were famous in their day, but they've been largely erased from memory. But I do think that you can have like you do a soft, kind of like a soft pilot for True Satire in an episode of Dr. Kopp where she comes across their stuff while she's researching the Faust family, right? And you do some flashbacks to them doing their act and doing some stuff. And then it's like, for more adventures of True Satire, catch this one on Paramount Plus, because this is a streaming only one. This is not network TV. It's a little more raw. It's a little bit more raw than Dr. Kopp.
Could like one of them have been murdered and it's a cold case that she ends up solving many years later?
I think absolutely that could happen.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why they just kind of go under. Where one of them gets killed and the other guy is just like, and maybe the other guy shows up.
Man, we're already coming up with spin-offs and come on, CBS. God damn it.
Like the idea that DA's family is 3 generations of just straight murderers.
Hey,
man, it's state government, man.
It's politics, man. Let me tell you about the rough and tumble world of local politics.
What do you think the DeWines put in those seed bags? Theoretically, satirically, jokingly. Why do you think they bought a minor league stadium back in the day?
Why do you think they call it the Biden crime family? Come on, Kevin.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a good point. Point.
What is sewed in the line of those canvases that Hunter Biden is selling for, $200,000?
Damn.
Microfilm.
It's how they're controlling
the evidence.
It's Hunter Biden selling his own pictures sewn into his canvases.
What's in there? The evidence. What kind of evidence? The evidence.
All the stuff that was on Reddit.
Right. You may have already seen it, but now you own the fungible token of those photos you see. No, wait, the non-fungible token, excuse me.
So we were up 1-0
going into halftime. I don't know if there's anything else in halftime other than it was a dicey, a dicey end of the half. It felt like we were really holding on there towards the end, but it was good. It was good to
at
see
the end of the
them
half, I'm pretty sure at the end of the half, we end with the ball pretty in a threatening position. Like we have a pretty good chance at goal right before half. We're maintaining possession. And I felt good going into half. I felt like they were in a quality position. They were playing well. They hadn't really let off after the goal. The defensive shape was good. Miami hadn't really created any big chances in that first half where you were like, oh shit. They were doing mostly a good job of avoiding fouling and giving an opportunity for the free kick wonder boy to do his thing.
Did Miami even have a corner in the first half? I don't think either team had a corner in the first half.
I think they had one, if I remember correctly.
Maybe one. Okay.
But they come out of they go to halftime and it's like you get it's one of those games too where you're like, don't concede before half. Don't make this a game before half. And they didn't. They got to half with the lead and you're feeling good.
Yeah. Another note on my seatmate that was next to me in the Liverpool kit. Furious that there was a hydration break when, again, the feels like was like 105 or whatever during this game. Right. And he's like, this is soccer. They don't do this. This is ridiculous. Why are they doing hydration breaks? This is some MLS nonsense. And I said, hey, man, do you only watch the Premier League? And he goes, no, I also watch Spain, too. I said, great. They play in the winter. The rest of the world, when it's hot out, they do this. They've been doing this for years.
They also do this in the Premier League when it's hot out. Yeah. They did the hydration break frequently during the 2020 season when they came back late. Every
single World Cup game probably had an hydration break. I can't think of one that might have gotten away without it. Yeah, that was ridiculous. I was very annoyed with that gentleman. Anyway,
the best way to correct him would have been, sir, This is not MLS bullshit. This is U.S. Open Cup bullshit.
Yeah, there's different organizers.
It's a different governing body.
How dare you, sir?
So it's a captured regulator.
These refs are not even. The contract isn't even with pro referees.
I don't even know who these assholes are.
Well, it was an MLS. It was a pro ref, but it was through a different organization.
I love that the refs have two bosses. That's good. I like that a lot. We get to the 53rd minute. Brandon Vasquez, he strikes on just what we've called the FC play, right? Like this was virtually that play, but instead of Barrial, it was Arias where would break on the counterattack. It goes through. I think it's Lucho who passes to Arias. It might have been somebody else.
Yes.
But
so
same idea. Yeah. If you have the play in front of you, please describe it to me.
I might have missed one pass here.
Okay.
But, so Obi tracks Messi.
Okay.
Right? Messi tries to pass to Campana. Hags beats Campana to the ball and kicks it out to Obi. Obi finds Moreno. Moreno finds Vasquez.
Was it Moreno? Was it Moreno or was it Arias?
Vasquez finds Moreno. And Moreno finds. Oh wait, no. Vasquez finds Arias, right?
Right.
No.
It's Arias because it goes. The final goal goes Arias to Vasquez.
Yes.
Yeah.
Arias is streaking down, and he finds Vasquez just at the top of the box, and Vasquez scores his 12th in all competitions, and announces that his wife is pregnant. So,
what a guy!
Congratulations to Brandon.
It was an incredible goal, and it was really great to see that Vasquez did not rush this shot. Earlier this season, we've seen him rush this shot. He takes a touch, or at the very least takes a moment, and just places it perfectly. Goal. We're up 2-0. I'm having New York Red Bull flashbacks, but continue.
Process-oriented podcast, things I want to note. Number one, great touch by Vasquez, gets to a dangerous position, gets a good shooting position, gets the ball squarely on frame, power behind it. Process-oriented podcast as well. Bupenza is crashing the net, which means that if there had been a rebound, he was in position to pick that up and possibly score from that position.
Something he was not doing against Columbus, Mike.
Was not, no.
Yeah, Moreno is the one that finds Arias.
Okay.
So it goes Moreno to Vasquez, back to Moreno. Meanwhile, Arias is running up the sideline. Moreno gets it into space, and Arias is by himself.
Great ball from Arias. He plays the early ball, which I like. He doesn't like that is a moment right there where in the past we have seen this team get too deep and miss the opportunity for that ball that is to the man in space, which was Vasquez. If Arias keeps going, he can make a difficult pass to try and get Bupenza a lot closer to net. But you're going to run the risk of the keeper coming out and intercepting that, and you're going to have a difficult time doing that. So by playing the early ball right there, the early square ball, it sets up the goal. And that's veteran presence by Santiago Arias. That's why you bring him in. That's why you took a risk on him with his injury history, because there are far too many players in this league and on this team that would have tried to get that ball deeper down to the end line and then cut it back. And by that point, you have missed the best opportunity to score the goal, which was Vasquez lurking at the top of the 18 right there. So just an incredibly intelligent soccer play by Santiago Arias, moving at full speed. You're feeling good right there. And the most dangerous lead in sports.
Man.
And this was the point where, first off, I said at this point, I looked to my seatmate, who again will go nameless because I'm about to throw him heinously under the bus right here in a second.
Good.
I said to my seatmate, I said, I just have this strange feeling next goal wins.
Oh.
Just strange, odd feeling that we needed to get to 3-0 or there needed to be no more scoring. But that if Miami brought it back to 2-1, we were going to have problems. And then within a couple minutes, he turns to me and asks, or he or she, I'm not going to, turns to me and asks,
Or
they turn to me and ask, so where's the final held?
No.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
I know. And I looked at them and said, for the love of Christ, shut the fuck up. But it was too late. It had been said. That is something that cannot be unsaid. You cannot unsay that in that moment.
Oh, yeah. No, look, I understand the excitement because up to that point, everything was going our way. Everything was going our way. It felt so good. 5 minutes later, Miami makes a bunch of changes, bringing on a number of guys, actually subbing out a fair number of their defenders for attacking pieces. But I want to call your attention to this. Aaron Bupenza is subbed out for Yuya Kubo in the 62nd minute. I think in hindsight, this is generally a perfectly fine substitution. I think even in the moment, I was calling for this substitution. When I saw Kubo warming up, I was terrified that anybody else but Bupenza was going to be coming off, and that's exactly who he went for, which is great. I ask you this. Can Bupenza not go 90 minutes? Like, I understand that, like, tactically this was a smart decision. But we have yet to see him go 90 minutes. He was hot. He played in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Not exactly cold climates before coming here to the U.S. What is he not fit? Like, what is happening here that Bupenza, the star striker, who should be better than Brandon Vasquez, can't go 90 minutes? And why am I happy to see Yuya Kubo come in for him? I don't know. I don't know.
For me, you might have been the only person happy to see Yuya Kubo coming into this game.
No, because I figured Kubo would drop back further and make the midfield more of a mess. I was fine with that move.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
All I could think was that you're fucking up what's working. You are changing the shape of what is working.
Yeah, and Bupenza, a lot of the substitutions, Noonan said after the game that a lot of the subs they made that they didn't want to make because guys were cramping and guys were hurt. Some of them were tactical decisions to see out the game. So there's a mix of that, and he didn't call out which were which is fair. But man, Bupenza was better this game. He had his moments where he looked bad, but I think it's very concerning he can't go 90.
We didn't talk about his best moment in the game, and that was he was offside, which is, kind of like drink. If Yerson Mosquera has if Woboto has the moment every game where we think he's dead on a foul, now Bupenza has the moment every game where he has a bad offside. This one wasn't as bad because at least this one, he's not being caught on a 50-50 ball. He gets played over the top, does an incredible juggle to bring the ball under control, and then slots it in the back of the net. It's so good. It's kind of like this point has been made about the NFL, that if you make a circus catch but don't get both your feet in bounds, there should be a way that just counts because it looks badass. Right. This is one where it's like he might have been offside, but this looked so cool, they should have just awarded him the goal on this one. Yeah. So he shows that. And I think he made some decent runs. He helps clear space for Vasquez on that goal by crashing to the net and pulling the defense with him. That separates out and creates the separation for Vasquez on that second goal. So I don't want to take that away from him, that there are things happening at the very least that seem to indicate that he's providing value on the field. But I'm with you. I don't understand why this man's a DP. He is supposed to be one of your best players on the field at all times. I don't care if you're trying to see a game out. Your DPs should be on the field if they're match fit and they're healthy. There is no good reason to pull a DP down other than this game is very well in hand and we're going to try and get someone a couple minutes of rest here and there. But I don't get why he hasn't been able to go 90 yet. It just seems very odd to me.
Yeah, if it makes you feel better, Yuya Kubo could be a DP if we wanted to designate him as such.
Yeah, well, names.
And then,
all right, so all of these, Noonan makes all of these subs.
Yeah,
and he just makes one.
Well, we're going to talk about him like now
at that time.
Yeah, at that time. But like over the course of the next, I don't know, 20 minutes of game time, he pulls off Vasquez.
Wait. We got to talk about Miami's goal real quick.
Okay.
Miami scores a goal. Leo Messi, free kick, serves it into the box. Campana hits it home. That's the header, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, it was I have a dumb foul by Arias.
Yes. Incredibly dumb foul. Unnecessary.
Yeah, which otherwise great game, but like the guy was going away from goal. He wasn't really in a threatening position.
Yeah.
It happens.
But you can't let it happen.
This was definitely not one that was like, okay, that made sense tactically, or this was like unavoidable. It was just, I don't know, either stupid or clumsy.
He gets over aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, and the guy is back to goal. It's a full shove. Like his arms are extended. It's very easy for the officials to call. And the problem is that if you want to beat this Miami team, you almost have to play a perfect game to beat them. And the one thing that you absolutely positively cannot do is you cannot give them any set piece opportunities. Their conversion rate on set piece opportunities in the final attacking third, I have to imagine that since Messi has arrived, based on watching this, that their conversion rate is absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it was an inch perfect cross by Messi. It was just over Hagelund's head.
Yeah.
And nobody else was really in a position to contest it. And it was Campana basically on his own. I mean, it looked like Alvaro might have lost him running, but Alvaro's not going to get up there.
No.
Like, even if Alvaro had been right in front of him, I don't think Alvaro gets up that high for the ball.
No.
Like, you would have needed somebody like, well, Hagelin, but Hagelin was in front of him. Or it would have to be like Hagelin, Murphy, or Miazga, who was in that position.
Or Yersin Mascara.
Yeah. But, they were all doing something else.
Yeah. The problem with the other team having an inch perfect pass is that it was a perfect pass. There's just nothing you can do about it. And that was it. They go 2-1. We're in the 68th minute. And you think, you know what? 20 minutes? We could maybe see this out. Look, we're FC Cincinnati. We are the masters of the 1-goal win. That's our thing. This is our calling card. This is how this team operates. And Pat Noonan, to set you up here, Chief, substitutes accordingly. So that is the plan here. The substitutes are Sergio.
Wait, one more thing.
Oh, yeah, please.
Oh, wait. When did Santos come in?
Sergio Santos for Brandon Vasquez is 78 minutes, and then the others are all in the 88th to 89th minute.
Okay, so Santos came in before the Kubo handball goal got called off.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. So Santos for Vasquez, fine in the moment, knowing this goes to penalties, a little less fine. But
so if it's an injury to Vasquez, or he was, a couple of players looked gassed.
Brandon looked gassed.
He looked gassed, and I have a lot of questions about match fitness if you're getting gassed that early in a game. I don't care how hot it is. Like, it's a summer league. They've played in hot weather before, and I get that they were expending a ton of effort trying to be disruptive, and the press expends a ton of effort, and they were clearly the more active of the two teams in terms of they chased the ball a lot because they didn't have the ball as much. Yeah. But man, this is one you got to gut. You got to gut through this, and you've got to be ready to play a game like this. And I don't want to, if he was hurt or if there was something else going on, if it was just he ran out of gas, I don't love that for a player that's otherwise had a very good game prior to this. And I get the idea in Noonan's mind that the way that the roster depth is for FC Cincinnati right now, and the sheer amount of talent on the other side, you're up 2-1. Your best shot to win this game is in regulation. If this game goes to extra time, you don't like your chances. If this game goes to penalties, you don't like your chances. So you get the sense there was a sellout to win this game in regulation. The problem with that is that when you bring in these substitutes, they're not nearly as good as the people they're replacing. Flat out, you are degrading the talent on this team, and you are hoping against hope that fresh legs covers for the talent gap. And also, by definition, you are changing what you are doing tactically because these players have different skill sets than the ones they are replacing. And the tactics they had were working. They were working. And when they brought in the full defensive sellout, you're bringing in guys like Ray Gaddis, Sergio Santos, Alvis Powell. It's just not going to be as effective. And the margin for error just becomes so narrow when these talents are on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rough. It's rough given where the game ends up, right? It's sad seeing Lucho get subbed off.
That one worried me when it happened.
Yeah.
Because I was not confident.
89th minute. It's like he didn't have 10 more minutes and he was limping. That was very fair, right? But man, just killer. Just that's where me as a fan, it's just like get 10 more minutes, man. Just come on. Oh man.
And they had their chances over this in this stretch. They had multiple good looks to make this a 3-1 game and seal this away. I think Kubo had a really, really good chance right after coming in. I think Arias had a shot at point blank range that it took a tremendous save to stop.
Calendar had 6 saves, and I feel like 4 of them were like tremendous.
Were game-saving saves. Like they were legit game-saving saves. They had their chances. And what was the other thing we said talking about this game that FC Cincinnati couldn't do? You can't miss chances. You can't miss them. And some of them were great plays on the other side. But like when you have the ball and you have the ability in a dangerous position to score the ball, you've just got it. You can't leave points. You can't leave points on the field with Miami. You just can't do it.
Yeah. Oh, it's just brutal. Do we want to talk about the Kubo handball goal?
Yeah, just to, I guess, clarify, because a lot of folks around me seemed confused.
Yeah. I have not seen a replay. Is this egregious?
It hit his hand.
Oh, okay.
It hit his hand, and he scored.
Oh, you can't do that.
So that's end of story.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It's not a situation where, so if this had been like in the middle of the field or in the defensive third, I think his hand was in a natural position down by his side. It was against his body. The ball kind of hits both his body and his hand, if not simultaneously at like very quick succession. The problem is, and I think, maybe most people know this, but the problem is that the rule is way less forgiving if the hand to ball contact immediately leads to a goal.
Yeah. Or especially leads to a goal. Yeah. Or is
is used in any way to control the ball or anything like that.
Yeah. So if the ball touches your hand and then you immediately score off that, either whether it's by like direct contact from the hand or like the ball hits your hand, comes down, and then you shoot it into the goal, that's no goal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was aggrieved in the stands, I'll tell you that much, because I couldn't see anything and they didn't give us a good replay.
I was upset because I wanted the goal.
Yeah, it would have been nice to win.
It was unfortunate. It wasn't, it was unfair cosmically, but not unfair by the laws of the game.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Fair enough. And then there is 8 minutes of extra time.
Which again, I gotta say is fair. There was a hydration break. There were multiple goals scored in the second half. There were multiple subs made. I was guessing 7 to 8 minutes before they put the board up. Anyone that is saying this is more, they're rigging things. If they're going to rig things, they'd have thrown a 10 spot up or a 9 spot up. Like
there was 6 at the first half. The 6, hydration break, goal,
Yeah.
a couple of other stoppages, fine. And then you take in the second half, well, there's 2 goals instead of 1, a couple of subs plus hydration break. Yeah, that's another 2 minutes.
Yeah. No. But in the 7th minute of those 8 minutes, who else? Lionel Messi assists Campana to tie the game up.
So
to
before
give joy to the worst people around us in the stands. Sorry, I'm still stuck on this.
I'm so mad at those people. I'm so mad they cheered. I thought that this team played tactically incredibly sound for the majority of this game, but there was an utter, and this is almost certainly because of who you took off the field. You took your captain off the field. You took your best midfielder off the field. You took your best striker off the field. You took a lot of leadership off the field. But there was a stunning lack of composure in seeing this game out by the players that were on the field. There's one play that is going to just stick out in my mind and haunt me for the rest of my days. And that is a streaking Sergio Santos with seconds left to play in this game. Maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes left to play in this game. Decides inexplicably, instead of going to the corner to kill time, to play a through ball to an also streaking Obino Wobodo, who is not a striker, is not a goal scorer, absent just absolute chaos. And it's intercepted, and the attack goes the other way, and Miami's back on the ball.
There's also 4 defenders in the box, I feel like, at that time.
Yeah, he was covered.
Like he was well covered. It's not like it was a clear pass that was right there.
He wasn't one-on-one. It wasn't an in. He didn't pass him in. That, instead of going and time wasting, will haunt me. They have a corner kick in stoppage time. And instead of playing it short and just dicking around with the ball in the corner and hoping to earn another corner or falling down and trying to draw a foul, they actually play the corner kick and try to score.
And we didn't even have numbers in the box. We put like one guy in the box for that, and they still tried that. Oh my God.
The lack of, nobody was looking to draw fouls. No one was looking to slow the game down.
Kick
it was
the ball
still being
out, anything.
It was still being like, fucking Can didn't even pick up a yellow.
Yeah.
Like,
you got to time waste your way there, buddy.
Yeah. And just no composure seeing this game out, no ability to do the dark arts or whatever you want to call it. And in a game where the final goal, the tying goal, comes with 90 seconds to play, 60 seconds to play, those seconds they didn't burn cost them the game. They absolutely cost them the game.
Ugh. Yeah. It's, I mean, I know everybody was doing this, but it's right up there with the Jeremy Hill fumble game for the Bengals for me, where it was right there. All you had to do was hold on to the ball and waste a few more seconds. And they didn't.
And then Messi has so much space.
Yeah.
In that moment as well.
Because it's chaos. It's new people on the field. Yeah.
There's a free kick to Miami. Messi doesn't take the free kick, but he receives a quick, short free kick.
Mm-hmm.
He checks his glance down to the back post. He passes it to another guy in his team. Ball immediately comes back, and he checks down to that back post 3 times. Like, you see his head swivel to that exact. He felt like he's looking at that exact spot,
staring the receiver down
before he makes the pass, and it goes again inch perfect. I mean, it's a little easier, I suppose, because it doesn't have to clear Nick Hagglund. It has to clear Alvis Powell.
But it does
so
just
you could
barely.
Argue,
yeah.
But you could argue he should have guarded Campana more tightly or been in a better position. But once again, like, it just barely clears over his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And the worst people in the stadium erupt.
And FCC loses 2-2. Oh, wait, no, there was a whole extra added time, which I'll just say it was very quickly. Joseph Martinez scores. It was super frustrating. Halsey comes on for Barrial, which should be said here. fantastic performance. And if I may be so bold, if Halsey continues this trajectory, and I fully understand that the growth is not exponential, you could see a potential Barrial replacement in that young man. Absolutely bring in some veteran depth, but you can see a path.
Energy, plays well. I'm going to be honest. As soon as they tied this game, in that moment, I was like, there's absolutely no way we're winning this game. Like, absolutely none. Like, right. I would have bet my house, my car, every dollar in my bank account on Miami if there were live odds available at that point.
and it's wild what they're left doing. I mean,
the lineup on the field, like the lineup they were chasing.
After the Miami scores, Wobodo is like basically playing the 10.
Yeah.
And Arias is playing the Alvaro Barrial rule. like it's crazy like how much play is going through Wobodo and Arias.
Yeah.
You know, for basically the rest of the extra time. And it kind of works a little bit. I mean,
they're both very good. Yeah.
Arias,
it looked good. It was good. I mean, but you look on the field and you're like, oh my God, really? This is what we're going to try and chase this game with? Like, I love Angulo, but like it's Angulo, it's Wobodo, it's Santos, it's Yuya Kubo. It's
Halsey.
Just Halsey.
Yeah.
It's like
and Powell, who had some amazing runs and really gave Miami trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but because like they score and it's like, okay, well, kitchen sink time. We're going to try just about anything. And then create some chances. I think they hit the crossbar on a header.
It was Arias.
Yeah. Arias, where I'm just like, this is the script.
Killed me.
The script is written.
There was the Jordi Alba handball shout. Once again, we're going to disappoint people.
His arm was fine. It
not
was
not a handball for me.
No, not me
either. It was his front arm that it hit.
I don't even know this podcast anymore.
It was down by his side. I do think that if it had hit his back arm, that would have been a handball. His back arm would have been like a mirror image of the Alvis Powell handball against Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it hit his front arm, which was like tight in on his body.
Ray Gaddis running towards goal with the ball, not back passing.
No, Ray Gaddis was Ray had a chance to get his first goal.
Right.
Oh my God! If Ray
Bishop
Gaddis
of the back pass running straight at goal.
If his first MLS goal was to put us into U.S. Open Cup final, I think we could officially claim him from Philly as he's our club legend now. If people aren't aware, Gaddis is a fan favorite in Philly and has yet to score a Major League Soccer goal. And many fans in Philadelphia and now in Cincinnati are eagerly awaiting that moment.
I think there was another kind of incredible save from Calendar in there.
Yeah.
As well.
It's a safe assumption at any point during this game, but yes.
I remember. So, yeah, I remember multiple times thinking that we had a goal and then Calendar just happens to get an arm just up there. And
But then, holy shit. The much maligned, the man this week, I wondered openly why his contract wasn't canceled. And I still wonder why we're paying $1.2 million for Yuya Kubo to ride the bench instead of
.2 that gets you.
signing another center back that might have been on the field tonight that could have jumped a little higher than Nick Hagland or Alvis Powell.
Yeah.
Hell of a goal. And out of nowhere, snapshot, just incredibly confident. One of those ones where you wonder, where the hell has this Yuya Kubo been for?
And credit to Halsey as well.
Halsey with a great
for playing that ball into the box.
Yeah,
it doesn't directly find Kubo, but he got forward, he got the ball in there, and
we knew where Halsey wanted this ball to go. He knew it was going to Yuya. This was all.
Yeah,
much like Lucho Acosta's goal was his. This is a Halsey assist. I'm giving him
absolutely.
I am giving him a post assist for this goal.
This is the post Cincy assist of the week.
Sponsored by Empanadas Box.
I don't know, guys. There's something about that Bupenza face assist that still tickles me. No, it was great. I did appreciate in the Discord, our dear friend Das Harks, Max, arguing in defense of Kubo, saying that it's not too late. Kubo could prove to be such a valuable player down the stretch of the season that his contract is worthwhile. I had to immediately go back and bump that post when that goal happened. I was like, hell yeah, he can.
So we score, and it's onward to penalties.
Doesn't Messi have one chance at a free kick?
He does.
He does.
And he doesn't do anything with it, which was
he tries to. He does not shoot. He tries
put tall guys on the wall.
Yeah, we put tall guys on the outside of the wall.
Neutralizes the direct free kick.
And Can just scoops it up very gently. And I screamed at every single Messi fan who had their camera out. You can take that souvenir of Can's save back home with you. That was great.
Back home to Delhi.
Yeah. You got a great video of Alec Can.
All right. We don't need to go penalty by penalty necessarily.
No.
We don't.
Here's the question I'm going to ask about penalties.
Please.
There's two things to talk about. Number one is, how many penalties do you think Miami would have had to kick before Khan saves one?
34.
He almost got a couple.
34.
He didn't almost get shit. He didn't get a hand on any of these.
The problem I have with Can is that he's bouncing around. And when you do the bouncing around thing, you don't give yourself the ability to react and dive at full speed because you let the attacker choose the moment when you're in the air.
He didn't bounce around like that against KC, did he?
No, not that I recall.
No, but he wasn't particularly great against them either.
Didn't he save 2 against KC?
No, I think they missed.
He saved at least 1.
Okay. That would be surprising given how Nashville and this went. But yeah, I'd have to go back and watch that. But yeah, it was just so frustrating that, like, man, just sit still and dive. And I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I'm glad Halsey was in there, but like, could Celentano have not been reading the book on all these guys for that last half hour? And I
mean, Halsey had to go in. Barreal was cooked.
Yeah, I think Barreal had been begging for a sub for a while.
He had gone down like 3 times in a minute, cramping.
Yeah. There was a chance he was just going to leave the game.
They had put him into the midfield, and he was just kind of wandering around like a zombie. Like he's like, I can't run. I'm just kind of like.
I thought I saw him up at striker for a little bit.
Yeah, he was a striker for a second. Yeah,
why
just
not?
doing anything to preserve the final sub. Yeah.
So well sacrificed. Yeah.
Do we talk about it?
It goes to Haglund, and I would be very curious. And it might not be years until we figure out exactly why these takers, why this order. It goes to Haglund. Maybe Haglund called his own number. As I've said before,
Kubo at 1, obvious for me with the personnel on the field.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Kubo or Santos, you probably want your strikers going there. Arias, sure, is going to place it.
Miazga kicks for the national team, so I mean, fine.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people asking why Miazga. I know Miazga missed against Nashville. Everybody's missed a penalty. Everybody's missed a penalty.
Yeah.
Miazga is was one of the 5 kickers for the national team in the Gold Cup. Yeah. Miazga takes penalties. Sorry. Not sorry. Boom.
I would have wanted Angulo there.
Really? I
was thinking Angulo as well, but we don't see them.
Yeah. We don't.
He might see them
kick penalties in practice.
He might, but like, I don't know. I just would.
Yeah.
I don't like Nick Haglund taking that kick. I don't know why. I don't. Haglund, if he does score, I think the only goals I've ever seen him score is with his head. I don't think I've ever seen him score a goal or even come close to scoring a goal with his feet.
That would be a hell of a penalty. He takes a running start and
just dives head first. And it was a shitty penalty. It was
terrible.
Yeah, it was not a great penalty. Not even a good penalty. I don't want to dump on Nick Haglund.
No. It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
Unless he called his own number. I'm just kidding.
Even then, it's not his own fault.
Kidding.
It's not his fault.
I'm just kidding.
What I was expecting is what you see like goalies and center backs do a lot, is they take it kind of like a goal kick.
Blast as hard as you can.
Just blast it, which sometimes does end up with the ball like soaring over the goal. But at least that's like, you put some power behind it, make it tricky.
You hit it hard,
right? Yep. This one wasn't hard. It wasn't
tricky.
in a corner.
Wasn't tricky. It wasn't in a corner.
Wasn't a lot of things. It wasn't in the net either. So
it was like it was
Okay.
soft and right next to the goalie.
But just imagine this version of events where a Nick Haglund soft, weak-ass penalty with Calendar diving the wrong way is the winning goal. And that's how we win?
it would have required Khan to stop something, and that just wasn't going to happen last night.
I just sort of assumed one of their young cocky guys would sky one, because that's what I expect a young cocky guy to do.
This is, I feel like if you're thinking about the narrative of Nick Haglund taking it,
Yeah.
it's kind of the same logic they came to at the end of Game of Thrones, where they're like, oh yeah,
He has the best story.
The best story is letting the crippled kid take it.
It was objectively not the best story.
No, the best story was Jon Snow.
It was probably the seventh best story of any of the, like, even
Brienne of Tarth would have been a better story.
would have been great. Jamie, the redemption arc, fine.
But
The assassin just killing everyone. That would have been awesome.
Jamie was dead.
Was he dead at that point?
Yeah.
Did you call him
but
Jamie
you could've-
Tart or Jamie?
Jamie was dead.
I think you called him Jamie Tart.
No, I was thinking Brienne of Tarth.
Oh, Brienne of Tarth. I
Brienne
thought you
of
said
Tarth.
Jamie Tart.
The little Lannister, he would have been an interesting king. It's kind of where I thought it was headed, which would have been annoying. Yeah, no, 100 better stories. Anyway,
I don't want to see slander about Nick Haglund out
No.
there. If your first instinct was to talk shit about Nick Haglund, he had a hell of a game.
if
Like,
you're talking shit about Nick Haglund, you're not an FC Cincinnati fan. I'm sorry.
I agree with that take, because, you know, everyone knows Nick is Nick as a player, right? I know that all players give effort, but Nick really plays on the edge.
Yeah.
You know,
I
he's
don't-
always been there. And I'm sorry, it's not Nick Haglund's fault that you want a better player there and that they haven't found a player that can keep Nick Haglund off the field.
He beats all of them.
That's
They've
not
tried.
Nick Haglund's fault.
Yeah.
Him not being as good as the guy you want at that position is not a reason to hate him as a player or get mad at him as a player, as a person, or whatever.
And up
It's
until
not a player's fault that he's not better than he is.
Yes.
If he shouldn't be there, it's management's fault not to replace him. Or
Yes.
it's management's fault that they didn't find somebody who can replace him. And to Nick's credit, they've been trying to get him off the field since 2019, and he's still fucking there.
Yes. And up until he put his foot on this penalty, he had damn near a perfect game for FCC. Like,
You don't have to laud him
yeah.
in the loss. You don't have to say, you don't have to praise him.
I
But
don't
you also
think I'm
shouldn't
overpraising him or lauding him.
No, you don't have. But my point is that it's not his fault.
Right.
It is objectively not his fault. He was being asked to do something he doesn't do well. After spending a game doing what he does very well, it's not his fault. And to blame him for this is stupid. It's
And
stupid.
as bad as you felt about it or us felt about it, Nick felt worse.
Oh,
I can't even imagine how
I don't
what
know
that
if
was
people
like.
Nick
saw
was
this.
standing there
Yeah.
at midfield.
For 20
For-
minutes. Yeah.
It felt like 20 minutes.
I don't know.
He was standing there, like everybody else is like walking back to the bench, getting
Yeah,
their towels, taking
were
their
gone.
shirt off, shaking hands and stuff.
He didn't
And
move.
all that, everybody's gone.
Mm.
And Nick is still standing there looking at the goal.
It took somebody in street clothes who I didn't recognize, so I was very far away, finally put their arm around him and got him to walk away. Man.
Yeah, I think it may have been Celentano.
Okay.
No, not Celentano. Kimi.
Yeah. Okay.
Kimi was in street clothes and came up and talked to him. I think a couple guys did.
Yeah. Oh, man. Devastating. And there you have it. Miami gets to host. I don't know if anything weird happened in the RSL Houston game, but
I didn't have it in me to watch.
I think RSL had the lead and Houston came back.
that was clearly rigged. I think we can
And
all
that game went to extra time as well.
Wow.
I just went home and just sat on my couch and just stared at like a TV that was off. I didn't have it in me.
I walked around OTR just like walk, because I was like, I'm just gonna go into a bar and like have a drink, but like none of the bars were like sufficiently like
sad,
empty, where I felt like I could just like have my like kind of sad like bar sitting solitary moment. So I ended up getting over like 15,000 steps for the day because I was just walking, because I just like I wasn't like ready to like go home, and just like call it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I sat on my couch with a whiskey and I just sat there. It was, I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I love that our recap of this game went exactly how this game felt. We were so full of praise of this team early on in this podcast. And then, you get to this moment, and I mean, there is something cruel about having been up 2-0 in the 65th minute of the Open Cup Semifinal at home twice in 5 years and not coming away as the victors. That is, you won't find that in another team, man. Like, that's to come that close both times and to fall apart. It made more sense when we were a minor league team going up against a major league soccer team. Maybe that's what this was. But man.
Yeah, it's like I walked into this game thinking they weren't going to win.
Yeah.
But then they were winning. And they spit the bit. And I get that okay, so I'm mad at the happy horse shit about they played real hard, they tried their hearts out. They lost the game.
Are you?
They lost. But also by the same token, it's like, fuck, like it was there. It was there for them to win. And it was a lack of composure down the stretch that allowed the brightest star Miami has a moment of brilliance that he should never have had an opportunity for. He should have run out of time from his magic. And they let him off the hook. And now we want to just get right into this.
No, hold on. I found a headline.
Oh, thank God.
About the feeling. It's from Broadway World.
Of course.
I love it.
Hate this, which I think is meant to sound kind of like waitress.
Oh, okay.
They're imperfect, but they try. They were good, but got tired. We make it hard on ourselves. Lucho's cornered and won't ask for help. We played Messi, and he thrived. We'd been winning most of the time. It leaves all of us mixed up and facing a beautiful lie. The cup's gone, but it used to be mine.
Wow.
I just sums my feelings up right here.
That nailed it.
Fuck.
Should we go over to part 2?
Yeah, let's do that.
With these words in mind. Part 2. Let's talk about the season ahead and what's left of it and what it means and what success means. Part 2, we're back. And guess what? We are now the Supporters Shield leading team with 10 games left in the regular season. There is no time to be sad. Gentlemen, we are the favorites. We are the bad villain to the rest of the league. We have the inside track to a trophy.
Can I pause for a second here?
I am trying to keep the spirits up. This season can be the most successful we've ever had still.
What do you do if you're Pat Noonan right now? Let's recap the last 3 games for FC Cincinnati.
Oh no, do we have to?
Lost to Nashville, that drops you out of the League's Cup.
Eliminated on penalties.
I hate this distinction so much.
We don't need to have this debate, but I agree with Chief on this.
All right.
How dare you?
You don't advance, you lose.
Yeah. Lost to Nashville on penalties, that ends your League's Cup run. Lost to your rival in Columbus.
Do you think Vodko said, well, technically we tied Sweden when they fired him?
I know his assistant coaches were doing that on Twitter, right? That's what Stom had his guys do.
Anyway, go ahead, Chief. Sorry.
Dog walked in Columbus by your rival in a rivalry game.
That was rough.
Loss at home to Miami on penalties that ends your Open Cup run.
In a valiant effort.
Look, I done been saying we can't despair on the rest of the season if we lose to Columbus and Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
Simply
wasn't.
Cannot.
There were 4 trophies that were available to this team 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
There were 4 trophies available. They have, in the span of 3-4 weeks, lost 50% of their opportunities to claim silverware this year. And it's like, I don't know, like, to me, what do you say to this team if you're the head coach, where it's like, you keep losing big games? You keep losing big moments.
You don't say that.
I wouldn't say that. No, I'm saying, what do you say? Not like, hey, assholes, could you win a game for a fucking change? But like, at a certain point, it's like this team has to, if they are what we think they are, if they are a very good team leading the chase for the Supporters Shield, we see that in the standings. But if they are going to win the Shield, they're going to have to start meeting the moment. And over the last 3.5 weeks, they have come up short, and the moment has been too big in each one of these times.
I mean, look, penalties are more or less a coin flip.
Then don't let it get to penalties. That's the problem, is
That's
that, like,
fair.
if you're so
That's
much better
fair.
than these teams, if you are the best team in the league, you shouldn't be drawing teams at home under any circumstances. You should be winning those games.
That's
but like,
fair.
It's not fair.
Well,
Nobody's won all of their home games, I think, in an MLS season.
I think Philly did it last year. I could be wrong. Maybe they was just undefeated at home.
Didn't we tie them there last year?
Yeah, so that was a lie.
Yeah,
Maybe they
so
just
we know
went
they
undefeated at home.
We know they didn't go undefeated. We know they didn't win every home game
Yeah.
last year.
But like Nashville, we smashed Nashville in what was a big game in the last
At
regular
home.
season game at home before Leagues Cup. Least we forget, the Chivas game was a big game that we won 3-1, and slight little lightning delay hiccup. That was a victory. And
Columbus
if we're counting
at home earlier this year is a big game.
if we're counting penalty kick victories, the Leagues Cup victory over Sporting Kansas City, coming back from adversity there, having been down 2-0 in that game. Yeah.
Didn't we beat New York Red Bulls in penalties in the Open Cup?
Sure did. We tied
New
in
York Red
advance.
Bulls.
Never mind.
Beat New York Red Bulls
yeah,
in
stick
the
with
playoffs.
stick with your story.
Beat New York Red Bulls in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
At Red Bull Arena.
Lost to Philly.
Yeah, but have one. So I saw this debate is always like really unfair to the people you're talking about, because like I saw a tweet about Jim Curtin losing big games, and they were like big games since whatever year, and they included like only his like losses, and they would include like finals losses, sure, but they would include semifinals losses. But they weren't including semifinals wins, like the semifinals wins that initially led up to those finals. Those were, for some reason, not big games that Jim Curtin won, but the semifinals that he lost.
Never allow the evidence to disrupt your narrative. That's rule number one.
Thank you.
So, but anyway, this team has won a lot of big games.
Yeah,
like the Seattle game was a big game, and I think what you do is you just do your regular game preparation, get people rested, talk about the game plan. And if you talk about it, you just say, we know how to win games. We've done it a lot this year. And as long as we keep playing our game the way we know how, we're going to win a lot more than we're going to lose the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And we're going to win a lot more than we're going to lose.
Up until last year, which is annoying to have to say, but Manchester City, the super club of super clubs, would not win every trophy available to them. In fact, they lost the Community Shield, right? Or something like that. I don't even think...
Let's not talk about the Community Shield.
No, but I'm just saying, like, even they can't win every trophy available to them every single year. And yeah, the Open Cup would have been dope. And I think a lot of us really like that because of what that means to the city and to this club generally. But like, we all knew as soon as Miami became the Miami that they are today, that was a very tall task. And now the trophies ahead of them are the ones that don't involve that, Leagues Cup notwithstanding. And oh, by the way, they probably would have run into the same Miami buzzsaw. But the Supporters Shield is very much within their grasp. If you want to just say that this team is a regular season team, fine. Supporters Shield trophy, that's still enough for this to be a successful season for me. I still think, and we said this early on in this season, and I think we said it as we realized how big this season could be, that this season is a success with silverware and it is a failure without silverware. And I think that is still the measure. And again, I believe we are the odds-on favorite to win the Supporters Shield, and you'd rather be us than not us right now. Things are looking good from that perspective. Now, if you want to look at, Miami sneaking into the playoffs and playing his first round in MLS Cup, yeah, that'll suck, but let's deal with that circumstance when we get there. We've seen this Miami team get gassed. Like, they will run out of steam at some point.
Miami's got more games left
than
anybody else, which is, on the one hand, good for them, for their
more points, sure.
More points available to them. But also, they are going to run into fixture congestion. Yeah. They're going to run into fixture congestion a lot. A little bit more than the rest of the teams will the rest of the year. So we'll see how they handle that. And
not for nothing, their star players are on the older side of the age spectrum in MLS. Like, they will get tired. They are not used to playing in, a league that requires hydration breaks because it's 105 degrees outside. So yeah, that will catch up to them at some point. I'm looking ahead at our schedule here briefly, and we play Philadelphia, sure. That's it. Like, Atlanta and New York City FC are going to be the next biggest challenges, but give me Charlotte, Toronto, Montreal, New York Red Bulls, Orlando. Sure. These are all winnable games.
They've got to
beat all these teams. Yeah,
they should. They have to play better than they have been playing the last couple of weeks. It has not been.
I think if they play as good as they played Miami, they'll beat these teams.
If they play as good as they played Nashville, they'll beat all these teams. The Columbus game is the outlier, and I think it's fair to say, given just how good this team looked against Miami, the Columbus game was a trap game, and that this team was indeed looking ahead to the Miami game on Wednesday. Like that, I think it's fair to say that in retrospect. I don't know if the coaching staff will agree with me or like that, but that certainly seems to be, everybody took it up a notch. And I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if they told him, hey, go out there, boys, and just run it 75%. No need to kill ourselves against Columbus. Let's save ourselves for Wednesday.
Do you worry about a hangover or lasting impact from this match? Because that happened to LAFC earlier this year when they got dumped out in tragic fashion of CONCACAF Champions League, and they didn't look right for 2 to 3 weeks after that.
Yeah.
I worry about that a little bit. We'll see what happens. With NYCFC this weekend. But
you look ahead. If I'm just shooting from the hip here, and I won't even predict the New York City game because I don't know exactly who's hurt, how bad the dehydration was, but Atlanta on the road, we should beat them. Orlando at home, we should win that. Philly, let's draw that game. Montreal on the road, we should beat them. Charlotte at home, we should beat them. Toronto on the road, we should beat them. New York Red Bulls at home, we should beat them. Miami on the road, fine, let's lose to them. Atlanta at home, final game of the year, let's beat them. That's a Supporter Shield team. That might be the points record.
You should have been counting while you were...
I should have. So not including New York City FC. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 points on top of whatever we're sitting at right now. That would, I believe,
tie the record.
You draw
And I believe
Miami.
that would also,
Yeah.
and I believe that would mathematically, like, because we didn't drop 8 points in your
Right.
in your scenario there, so that would mathematically make us uncatchable.
Right. And you're looking ahead at like New England, who is our next closest rival, at least in the East, just sold their stud goalkeeper, and things aren't entirely clear as to what's happening with Bruce Arena. I don't expect them to mount a serious challenge. You worry
Nashville.
about a hangover for us. I worry about a hangover for Nashville as well, although they did look very good in Leagues Cup. But sure, they could make a run. Honestly, the biggest threat is St. Louis, and they have a lot of higher-seeded playoff teams left on their schedule. Last time I glanced at it. So, yeah. Columbus has to play, I think, Philadelphia twice, New England twice. Like there's a lot of these games left to play in the East. So
Yeah.
Columbus has to play New England twice.
I think so.
That would be great news.
Let me go check Columbus's schedule here real quick. It's going to take me a moment. Wow. I'm not going to get
Boy,
to this
the
quickly.
Google foo is terrible on this. So while you're looking at this, the way I look at the rest of this is that
Please.
I think this weekend is an enormous game. They have to win this weekend. They absolutely have to get
Columbus
right.
has New England and Philly, but not twice.
Not
either.
twice. Okay.
right.
Okay.
They need to get back on the winning side of the ledger this weekend. And I'll say it again. I know that I might be in the minority in this. I thought Bopenza looked a little better this game than he has previously. That has to get better immediately.
Yeah.
Like immediately, right the fuck now. And
Can we just
they
convince? Yeah, please.
They cannot, in addition to that, they cannot have injury issues basically anywhere. Maybe you can stomach an injury to, or some more Angulo and Pinto time in the midfield, maybe. But if they are relying on Alvis Powell and Ray Gaddis to give significant minutes on the back line in future matches,
Yeah.
we've seen what that looks like, and that is not good. It's not good at all.
Yeah. I was just going to say, maybe we could convince Kubo that we're playing Miami every week. Like, just kind of trick him into doing that and then come shot out of a cannon. Like
My hope
that.
with Kubo, honestly, is that, as we wind this season down, this is all based on the idea that there isn't another secret option on his contract that nobody knows about, which for all I know, there's probably 4 more of those things.
Probably
But
bank on it, yeah.
We are getting to the point in the year where maybe he needs to ball out to, justify some other league or some other team taking a flyer on him at something approaching his current wage bill. So hopefully this is a motivated Yuya Kubo that needs to show out for his next gig, and we see more of that we saw last night going forward.
Yeah. I would love to see it. That would be helpful.
It'd be nice.
We also talked about this during the Columbus post game, but Celentano looked good. It'll be nice to see Celentano for this stretch. It's been a while since we've seen it. We've seen him once in like the last 2 months. So
Kind of wild when you think about it, that he's gone that long without game time.
right. Yeah, also just throwing it out there, just to be that annoying guy. We need a win somewhere in August 26th or 30th, or we will have gone the entire month of August without a win. Just
Don't like that.
All right.
funny quirk of the schedule.
Well, let's get to.
Yeah, no
Perfect.
time like the present on that one.
And
More playing
speaking
time.
of the present,
More playing time for Halsey too. I think he's earned a bigger look, I'll say.
yeah, I don't mind him and Arias trading time so long as the results are coming in, because if Halsey continues to progress and looks as good as he has appeared in these brief moments, next year with a Halsey Arias starting lineup, I wouldn't hate at this moment.
It would solve a big issue that this team is going to run into, and that's trying to replace likely Brandon Vasquez, Yerson Mosquera, and Alvaro Barrial without a DP spot available. Assuming they don't do the rumored go to a fourth designated player, but that's 4 spots to replace that are all on pretty low salary numbers other than Vasquez.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, and you'll have to replace Yuya Kubo, so you have to find somebody to just set fire to $1 million.
I mean, if they're looking, if they're looking, as long as they don't care if it sets it on fire, if I can take the $1 million, I'll help.
I promise I'll burn it later, folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it to a safe, secured location, and I promise you, it will be burned.
So, are we in agreement that Supporter Shield, if that is our only trophy, let's assume the worst here, this is still a successful season?
For me, yes.
I would say yes. I worry about Chiefs' mental health after the playoff loss, but
I don't know.
Leave the door open.
So the big coda on all this is that, like, I don't know that I'm going to have perspective on any of this until there's a star over the badge. Like, I think the Supporter Shield's kind of a fake trophy. Like, I don't know. You don't play a balanced schedule. Like, you don't hang a banner. You're not considered MLS champions. It's kind of like it's a participation trophy for the season a little bit. Like, congratulations. You were the best until the games really started to matter.
Oh, no.
You do play. I mean, I think that the schedule not being balanced is overrated. You play everybody in your division twice. Everybody else in your division plays everybody in your conference. Everybody else in the conference plays all those same teams twice. And then, yeah, like, you don't play every team in the West, but, like, they did play St. Louis, who's in first place in the West.
Right, but like
Seattle, who's going to finish near the top of the West.
But St. Louis plays everybody in the West twice. Like, it's not even like their path to the Supporter Shield is nowhere near what our path is. It's just different.
Right. But is our schedule, like, do we miss out on something by not playing Austin?
No.
Yeah. No, it's funny, too,
or
that
San Jose.
The MLS Cup is fine, but we very obviously play radically different teams to win the Cup.
Right.
So, like, unless you want to do a round robin as the postseason, which some countries do. So that could be
like
fun.
It's a trophy where you don't get to claim you're the champion of anything.
Oh, watch me.
Yeah, we're the champion of the league.
Yeah.
The MLS Cup champion is the champion of the MLS Cup playoffs.
Yeah, that's a cup
presented by
championship.
Audi.
We win the league. They win the postseason cup tournament. The Community Shield of MLS, as it were.
I don't even think the league awards the Supporters Shield. I think, like, the supporters award the Supporters Shield.
They don't, but it's like the NHL doesn't award the Stanley Cup, the Stanley whatever, Lord Stanley Manor.
The Earl Stanley Gardner Foundation.
They bestow it upon their favorite team that season, which happens to be the team that wins the NHL, which was bullshit the year that the NHL didn't play a season. They absolutely should have awarded it to the best team in Norway or Russia or something. They absolutely should have done that. Insult to the sport. Anyway. Of the sport I don't really care about, but hey.
No, it'll be a successful season if they win Supporters Shield. It's just that, like, I'm chasing the star on the badge. When Columbus pulled out the 2 fucking stars at midfield with their logo right there, it's galling.
Yeah, but
it's galling.
You talk about not playing a balanced schedule. Yeah, if only we had won a star when there were 8 teams all owned by Phil Anschultz, like, that would have been great.
Didn't the Hunt family own a few? Like, I feel like
it was literally
owned the Crew.
Yeah.
and Kansas City. Kansas City
and Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Talk about single entity. Like two crime families and the Crafts owned the entire league.
Yeah. So what you're saying,
2 crime families and the only person actually charged with the crime.
I was going to say 2 crime families and the one family that has done crime.
And the only person that can stop them, Dr. Kopp, attorney at law.
It's set in the 1990s, and she's only investigating MLS owners.
It turns out, it turns out you were lied to, and the real reason the Tampa Bay Mutiny went away is that Dr. Kopp, attorney at law, investigated.
Found a mutant.
Not a mutant bat.
Found the mutant itself. We're over 2 hours. Should we talk about New York City FC?
Yeah, we're gonna win 3-1.
Oh well, there you go. Done. Fuck Columbus. Wait, no. Let's do it. No, hang on. Part 3. Let's talk about it. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Boom. There you go. Patented preview from the Post, where we give you deep, hard-hitting analysis like who are we playing and who do we have to play them?
Who are we playing? Where is the game being held? And what are our predictions?
TQL Stadium, folks, August 26th, 7:39 kickoff. You got Chris Penso as your center referee.
Wonderful.
And this game is on MLS Season Pass. I don't know if you guys knew that, but this one's on MLS Season Pass.
Ooh.
So we got Don Badji, we got Jimenez, we got Mosquera, still Mosquera potentially out. We got, I don't know, Lucho and Barrial sure as hell look banged up. I'm going to assume Bupenza and or Vasquez had a reason to come out when they did.
Until it's reported elsewhere, I'm going to assume that most of this was cramps and heat related. I think it would have been announced if somebody was hurt by now.
I would agree with you.
The availability report has not been made public yet, but
okay.
I generally agree with you.
Yeah. Barrial's the one I'd keep an eye on. I could see, well, hey, we were asking for Halsey playing time. I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, if Barrial can't go.
Yeah. Give him a chance.
Or if you want to, save Alvaro's legs a little bit and bring him on later. I'm not opposed to that given his situation at the end of the game Wednesday.
Yeah.
But they'll know better than we do how he feels.
I'm not a huge fan of FOTMob right now. I'm normally a big fan of FOTMob. Everywhere else on their website, they count the knockout draws or the knockout on penalties as a draw. I'm looking at the team form guide here. They're counting these as losses. I don't know if you guys
don't hate FOTMob for proving me right. Don't hate FOTMob for telling me that I got this figured.
Well, if they are going to call those losses, both of these teams are coming in very red in form. New York City FC has won 1 of their last 5. That was a 5-0 beatdown of Toronto. Otherwise, they lost their other 4. FCC beat Chivas and Sporting Kansas City. Sure. Having lost their last 3. No reason to think we can't win this one.
Beat them twice this year already.
Do it again. Wait, this is our 3rd time playing them?
We played them in the Open Cup, right?
Open Cup. No, we played Red Bulls in the Open Cup.
Yeah, I thought we played New York City FC at our place.
I think we played both.
In the Open Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, and played Red Bulls on the road.
We played both New York teams in the Open Cup?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Go us. You could win there, you could win anywhere.
They call it the large apple.
Yeah, we played May 10th in the Open Cup.
Yeah, I was there. We were there. We were all there.
We were sitting next to one another, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Was that the Opie game?
I think so.
Probably.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, Opie had a couple of different appearances, so yeah.
Yeah. They have to win this game. This is a must-win game. If they lose this game, the narrative will be there's a hangover, that this team that there's something wrong with the team. Because then you're talking 4 straight losses, and there's going to start being some weird questions being asked as to whether or not this team is tripping down the stretch. You're going to let other teams get closer to us. Let some other teams believe they have a shot at winning the Shield. I think Noonan. This is where Noonan's got to earn his money. Is man management right now. Man management of a team that, okay, I hate the lads hustled, but it was a team where the lads hustled and they didn't get the job done. And there has to be an understanding that last night felt like a season ending loss. Like it's weird that they're playing again on Saturday because there was like a real finality to the way that game was built to and the way that it ended. And the idea, it's like, okay, well, we turn the page and now we're back to it almost feels anticlimactic to go back into, well, there's a regular season game against NYCFC at home this weekend. They have to put the Leagues Cup and the Open Cup behind them because there's still a shitload to play for and it's still all in front of them. And they're pro athletes. Most of them have been down this road before. A lot of them have played in these types of cup competitions, even over in Europe. But Noonan's got to get them right and get them ready to go this weekend and get back to winning games.
Yeah.
I was concerned that the cup was gonna, that having a cup in the middle of the season was gonna like be disruptive as to your form because it breaks the continuity of the season. So where like, you know, coming out of beating Nashville 3-1 at home in the regular season, and then being able to play a regular season game after that, you're like just going on a high.
Yeah.
And now they're very much not. So they're going to have to find their form again.
Yeah.
But they're not a different team. They're, you know, arguably, you know, by all accounts, they should be a as good or better team than the one that that was in that form that we saw in the first part of the year. And, you know, you kind of hope that they hate losing more than the Chief does.
It is possible. It is possible. So predictions for this one. Are we predicting a hangover? Are we predicting a return of the king to the MLS table? While I let you think about your predictions, I'll just say one to keep an eye on. If you like to keep tabs, or I like to sometimes turn on notifications for another game in MLS when I'm at TQL Stadium. I turn on notifications, Orlando hosting St. Louis. We are certainly now in the thick of our Supporters Shield race, and St. Louis losing to Orlando would be real nice. It'd be very comfy. So, Chief, what do you think?
God, this is really going to go one of two ways.
Or three.
No, there's no in between on this. Either it's going to be like another performance like Columbus or DC, or they're going to win comfortably. And so I'm going to lean into the optimist and say they win comfortably. I'm going to say this is a 3-1 win.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Grayson, you go more optimistic or less optimistic?
I already said 3-1 in part 2.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. You have to make your predictions in part 3. These are the rules.
My prediction is also 3-1.
But for New York City. Wait.
No, for FC Cincinnati. And I'll go out on a limb and I'll say it. Like, I have to predict them to win because I don't want to live in a world where they don't win this next game. Because that takes us down a dark timeline.
Oh, man. Well, in that case, I will say 1-0 to the FCC. That is a true return to form for this team. 1 goal. Make it late. Make it as late as possible.
Oh my God,
1-0.
no.
I'll add a prediction. We finally get our Bupenza backflip.
Oh, that would be lovely.
No, that's a narrative that's going to keep going. They'll win this game to avoid the tailspin narrative or the hangover narrative. But I just have a feeling that the was Bupenza a good signing, that this is going to linger for a couple more weeks.
Well, fine. If you guys are going to do that, I'm going to say Halsey starts in place of Barrial. He gets the night off, scores the winner. People start asking.
Nobody's asking.
Did Barrial lose his starting job?
Nobody is asking this question.
Somebody on Facebook will ask that question.
Yes, that'll count.
Yeah, you know who will ask that question? It'll be the person that was wearing a Messi jersey at this last fucking game. That's like, I root for the FC too, and I've got a lot of questions about what's going on.
Somebody posts it on Facebook with their Bitmoji version of themselves asking the question.
I'm just asking questions.
Oh, God. Hey, you know what? Now this gentleman, you talk about a return to form, a 2-hour, 15-minute group therapy session. Maybe it was Chief's therapy session.
It's cheaper than real therapy.
The postcast is back, baby. We got our own microphones. It's real life.
All right, so I've just, here we go. Fuck Ted Uncle. Fuck Don Garber. Fuck Apple Computer. Fuck Adidas. Fuck Miami. Fuck Busquets. Fuck, what's his name? Dumbass. DeAndre Yedlin. Fuck all these people. Fuck Lionel Messi. But most importantly of all, fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast, which is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com for all of our written content, as well as links to our social media. You can follow us on Twitter, and as well, you can join us on our Discord server. You can find links to that server both in this episode description as well as on our website. That is where most of our conversations are going on. We have a lovely community there talking about FC Cincinnati, MLS, anything and everything else and everything in between. We also want to give a huge thanks to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing all of the music you've heard throughout this episode. They're an amazing local Cincinnati band. Again, more information about them is in the description of this episode. And if you enjoyed what you listened to, and you've made it to the end, so I'm going to assume you liked it, or you just can't reach your stop button, please like us, review us, subscribe to us wherever you are getting your podcasts. That is going to be really, really helpful. But more importantly, share this with a friend. A personal recommendation helps spread a podcast so much further. So please share this if you know somebody in your life who's an FC Cincinnati fan, an MLS fan, somebody that you think would enjoy this. Pass it on over. Thank you so much again for listening. It blows me away that people continue to listen to us, and thank you so much again.